New year, new season, still badass. Season 3 of Cobra Kai premiered this January on Netflix, and just as Cobra Kai Never Dies, neither do I, so today we will see the best and the worst of Cobra Kai Season 3. As always, let's start with the good stuff, and one thing that I've always liked about this show is that it handles the exact dose of humor. The jokes they put are very original and are perfect with the situation and the moment of each character. I especially loved the parts where Johnny didn't know how to use social media. Did he really give a like to all of Ali's photos on Facebook? Dude, a stalker alert. Another thing that I loved and that we saw in the first episode was that even with one-shot characters, characters that only appeared in a specific scene, this series broke with the stereotypes of Latino American people in the United States. We saw this with the two Latin men that Johnny ran into in a bar, who looked like bad guys and the typical characters that are there to start a fight, but not here. Here they were rude, but they did not look for any fight. Instead, it was Johnny who sought the fight with them, and these characters once again broke stereotypes by calling the police instead of clandestinely take the shirt out of him. I know it may be silly for some people, but it seems to me that those little details help to combat the prejudices that some people have of the Latin people in the USA. And since we're at it, I also love that the way Latinos speak is faithfully represented, like when Miguel's grandmother says a football team la va a cagar. That was really funny. But one of the greatest successes of this third season of Cobra Kai was without a doubt that they allowed us to see Chris's past and how he became the tough person he is today. We saw that he suffered from bullying when he was young and that he had two very hard times while serving in the military. In fact, it could be said that deep down he is a compassionate person who was covered by a layer of aggressiveness, one that he had to carry after near-death experiences. And we can see that same compassion when he goes to Tori's house to convince her to return to Cobra Kai's dojo and even helps her with her parent payment problems. And although he did it because she was one of her best students, we still saw that he did it because he felt empathy for her precarious situation. The only thing that I would have added is a little more about why his mother died and how that changed his life, as we didn't see much about it. But leaving that aside, I think that the scene that we saw of him in the final chapter was epic, where we discovered the origin of the name of Cobra Kai. On the other hand, one of the aspects that attracted the most attention since the trailer came out was the return of Chosen and Kumiko, whom we met in the second Karate Kid movie. These characters undoubtedly put a good dose of throwback to those movies. But another positive point was that the series put important scenes from those films in order to understand who these two characters are, so that fans of the series who have not seen the Karate Kid movies could understand their importance, so no one had to pay the price of not knowing the context of these two. And just as I talked about Chris, it seems to me that another character who's shown these seasons was undoubtedly Hawk. In this season's trailer, I saw that many people hated this character and wanted his ass to be kicked, but it seems to me that in this season we got to see a lot more of him than just the vengeful and violent part. We saw that he did not stop being aggressive, but at the same time he still maintained the values of loyalty and, most important of all, that he was the only karate student who thought about making good decisions and whether his sensei was teaching the correct lessons. But now let's move on to the bad, to the worst of Cobra Kai Season 3, and the first thing was a natural consequence of what happened at the end of the previous season. We saw that in the first episode everyone was so peaceful, nobody wanted to fight. Some of the characters held back to avoid another violent encounter, others did it because they were being watched by the teacher or some other authority, and others like Samantha were simply afraid of fighting. And as I said, it is normal after everything that happened, but at the same time it is like, dude, I came here to see Cobra Kai, I came here to see punches and kicks. But thankfully this absence of fight was only present in the first chapters. On the other hand, even though I liked that more characters from the old Karate Kid movies appeared, something that I think was wrong was that Daniel LaRusso's character seems to have more chemistry with his ex-girlfriend Kumiko than with his own wife. There are already fans of the series who do not like this woman as his wife, and now by showing one with whom he gets along better, it makes their marriage relationship look even worse. As for Miguel's recovery, although I understand that his sensei is more effective than a therapist because that way we get to see the relationship heal as well, what I did not like was that he recovered so quickly. He literally went from being barely able to wiggle his right foot at a rock concert to walk like totally normal in less time than it took for Raleigh to reply a Facebook message. And I felt the same thing with Robbie. The guy almost killed Miguel in a fight and we see him get out of prison very quickly. We hardly see him spend time in jail and only once he did see him doing community service. It was greatly obvious that they sped up the plot of both characters so that they could participate in the final battle. Another negative point, which is something that most of the series have, were the errors or lack of logic in certain situations. For example, when Chris puts snakes in Daniel LaRusso's vehicles, is it like he doesn't have security cameras? Or how did he get away with that action without Daniel suing him? In addition to the fact that we did not see any consequences of that action, we did not see that his business was affected in any way. I mean, we did see a few customers running away, but nothing else after that. At the beginning of the season, we saw that the school had very strict rules regarding who entered the school and what they bring with them. We even have some policemen or some kind of guards checking backpacks, and yet later we see that Johnny can enter to talk to the boys without being checked or blocked. Which was like, dude, he was one of the main responsible for the fight that took place in there. Lastly, I hated the character of Dimitri this season. In the comments section of the trailer, I saw that many people supported him and wanted him to kick Hawk's ass. And not only he did not do that, but in general he did nothing relevant for the series. In addition to that, in all his scenes he was only there to cause humor. Even her relationship with the popular schoolgirl was not taken seriously. In addition to that, I felt like Gianni's sense of performance was a bit weak, but I loved that his character and Hawk were friends again by the end of the season, so that's okay. And that's all I have to say about this season, which in general I loved, and if you did too, please leave me a like and subscribe to continue receiving the best content about the series of the moment. I hope you're having a great time. This was Jamie from World Review and I'll read you in the comments section. Bye.